Hi, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to our another session, conversation, courage in crisis. Again, we are from the Moravian Church, East West Indies Province, and we are just here to encourage our members near and far, our associates, our colleagues, our allies, everybody around us in these COVID-19 stressful times, how we could stay afloat, how we could stay grounded. We've been here for a few weeks just discussing real life topics that have been affected by this COVID-19, the lockdown that our various Caribbean islands and the world is experiencing. And we're here again today to talk about relationships. Now, last week, we talked about depression, anxiety, and suicide. And I'm telling you, if we look at some of our relationships, sometimes we can get very anxious, depressed, and feel like we want to end. Not necessarily our lives, but sometimes relationships go through that period of homicidal or even suicidal feelings. Relationships, not people. So today we have Reverend Algernon Lewis and his wife, Reverend Denise Smith Lewis.
Okay.
Welcome, guys.
Hi,
Thank
hi.
you.
How are you guys doing?
You're good. Well, I'm
Good.
good.
I like
Managing
that.
all
She's
the
talking for
managing
herself.
all the stress, you know. Yeah, we're doing good.
Good, excellent. And we also have with us Nikita Walker. She's in Tobago with me. Just to mention, Reverend Algernon and Denise are in Antigua. And we have
Yeah.
Nikita Walker. She's with me here in Tobago. Nikita, how are you?
I am trying to be good. I'm taking one day at a time. That's basically what it is at the moment. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Great to
And
be
we
here.
thank you so much for coming. She is a teacher, actually, and also a marriage and family counselor, therapist. Am I
Mhm.
saying it correctly?
That's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine.
So I know her as that. She works with a lot of relationships. Um, and she's one of a friend, a colleague, I would say, on my side. And we're so happy that you guys are here. So let's just get into it. I have to breathe a little bit because today has been rough for me.
Mm.
And I think I'm glad that's why we always do these check-ins, because folks out there, we want you to know that none of us are exempted from this thing. Whether you're professional, whether you're pastor, whether you're educated, pretty moneyed, or propertied, we're all being affected by this. And so we are in this with you. That's why we're coming to you and talking to you the way we are. So let's just look a little bit at relationships. You know,
Mhm.
as I said, one of the things that we have to deal with now is this lockdown scenario. And most of our Caribbean islands are facing that, as other countries of the world have and are still facing it.
Mhm.
And the feature of being locked down is that you can't leave your house. Many of
Mhm.
us are not going to work because many of us are not essential workers anymore. I mean, I had to face that reality the other day and I laughed. I'm like, Billy, you realize you're not that essential, right? And I had to go through that grieving process. um, but we're locked down in our relationship situations. Some of us are married. Some of us are single and dating. Some of us are courting. Some of us are single and not looking. Some of us are home with families. Let's start with you, Nikita. What do you think are some of the things these persons are going through in their family settings? Let's leave the marriage for a little bit later down. In the family setting, those of us who live in family units, in this lockdown time, what are some of the things you think people may be going through?
Well, thing is, when I was, looking at this and in discussions with others and examining varying situations around me, I recognize that we expect because families are on lockdown in the same place that would leave room for further communication, togetherness, and so on. But that's actually not the case. What
Mm-hmm.
you're finding happening is everybody takes to their own little corner. Everybody's on their social media devices.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Dad may be outside doing yard work. Mom is inside in the kitchen, and so we are together locked down in the same place, but there is not that family togetherness. And so there is not that intentional movement to having that family togetherness in these times. And I think that's something that we need to look at specifically as families.
You know, that is so interesting because, like you said, you would think that because we're locked down together, we'll just
Yeah.
come together and, do all things together. But it sounds as if we are still finding our specific
Yeah.
roles, functioning.
Yes,
Is
yes.
this a, go ahead, go ahead.
I was saying because that has been become the culture. That has become the culture and the action of our westernized state that has been who we have been for some time. Everybody is, we meet at home for a short period for the day, and so that just continues. So even if we're not going to work and we're in the same place, it just continues because it has become our culture and it has become how we operate on a day-to-day basis.
Wow. Is there any part of this that is, I'm going to ask Reverend Dennis and Reverend Agma to come in as well, but is any part of this you think part of our coping mechanism in this time where we're home together but still very individualized? And if so, how?
I think that there are good things to it and there are bad things to it, because if you're going to balance it, meaning, okay, now this is me time now, that is okay. And then later on, we're going to get together. But if it's just a case of you're almost pretending like I'm out for the day, so you're out washing the car, raking the yard, whatever, there's no communication, then that does nothing for the relationship. I'm not talking about just marriage now. I'm talking about people being together.
Right.
We should make sure that we are balancing that time. So there should be some communication, even if it's me time at some point, but there's also the we time as family.
I want to bring in a kind of gender thing with this. Even Denise, you and I are married. Nikita, you're not married, but we're all, three of us are female here. I don't know what you have experienced where you are, but I have found myself falling into this very extra feminine centered role where I'm up, I'm cooking at a certain time, making sure the dishes are washed after, doing all the little women things that I didn't necessarily have to contend within this, intense way, because I used to be out of my house for 8 o'clock and be out until 4 o'clock, and whatever we have in the fridge, we eat it. And all of a sudden now I'm the superwoman of the 70s.
Wow.
Reverend, Reverend Denise, how was it for you, in terms of that, being home locked down and having to change or adjust your whole personality as a woman and a professional woman?
Well, I share some similarities in that I am an early riser. So I would get up early. I would check to see what is there. First, I go spend some time with myself, spend some time with God, do my prayers, those kinds of stuff. Then I have my mom with me, so I have to take care of her. So I have to make sure some things are in order. Then I went and, make sure the house in order, then cook and all of those things. Then I could have some me time.
That's what, like 2 o'clock?
A little earlier than that, a little earlier than that, a little earlier than that. But it's very easy to fall into that pattern, because as a woman, there are just some things that you want to see in order, and so you will find yourself doing it without even thinking about it.
Right.
But
But
I
then,
think,
go
if I may
ahead, go
say
ahead.
this, Billy, I think that there may be some women who really don't like that kind of thing and are now not pleased that it's like you're being forced to do it, uh, because you just don't want to see any dishes. You don't want to think you have to clean anything. Somebody else must do this for you, but now you are being forced to do that. So that'd be a lot of pressure for those persons who have deliberately tried to not be domesticated in this way,
Right.
now feel forced in that kind
I think from another perspective, if I can, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sometimes you function better if things are in certain order. So if
Mm-hmm.
the house is out of order, I can't find peace personally. So there are certain things that have to be in order, then I can chill. So those things have to be in order so that I can find my sense of peace in the house.
Nikita, go ahead. I want to respond. Go ahead.
Yes, I was saying from another perspective, it could be that for many women, it brings a sense of control because
Mm.
there is so much that is uncertain about these times. And so
Mm.
doing those traditional things, bringing a sense of stability to your family situation, bringing a sense of structure to what you do on a daily basis, because okay, I have to cook a meal for lunch, and then at a certain time, I'm looking to prepare something for dinner. So I
Right.
think it helps in some ways to develop that sense of control. and stability when so much around us because of the situation is uncertain now.
You know, I like that, what you and Rev just said, because I mean, that is something for me, that's what it is. I can't function that well. But as Reverend Dennis was speaking, I was saying to myself, but many times you leave the house at 8 o'clock and the house ain't tidy, but you get to forget about it and focus on things that
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
control over. Because I go to my office, I do my work, I interact with what I want to, I do what I want to. And then I come back home at 4 or 5 o'clock, and then you do what you can and you move on. We survived these things that we couldn't control then, but now we're being faced with it and we have no other way. We have no escape this time. We have no escape. You were saying something, Reverend Algernon?
No, I was agreeing
Okay.
with you.
Right.
The question of control, I think,
Yes.
is an important one. You want to feel a measure of control because so many things are shifting. So,
Mm.
you do what your hands find to do, so you feel like you've accomplished. You see the dishes are clean, you feel a measure. I think I would feel that too, a measure of
Right.
accomplishment that I am getting something done.
Yeah.
When otherwise I'd want to run out to do something, but I'm getting
Right.
something done. I just see the place is clean.
Yeah. I want to bring up something Reverend Dennis just mentioned. We're going to take up about 2 minutes before we go into the marital and, courting relationship. You mentioned about having your mom at home. And that is something, even while we're planning, that didn't even come to my mind so much. But many of us as older persons, not myself at this point, but I know many people who are caring for their older parents. And it is such a risky time for them. Before you guys in Antigua on total lockdown, but before that, you were able to go out a little bit. What is it like for you? What are you experiencing having to take care of your mom in this time? I mean, it was okay before, but now it's such a risky time. It's a kind of touch and go. For me, I feel anxious just talking about it. What is it like for you? And what can people who are dealing with it do to make it work for them?
Well, it can be a little nervy. You are aware of the stats and the fact that they are more vulnerable, those kinds of things. So you try to make sure the environment as much as possible will accommodate their well-being. So
Mm-hmm.
I would find myself, going and sanitizing and, spraying and doing all those things to make sure. Then the younger ones who are with me, my sons, they will say to me, Mom, I think you're overdoing. But I'm taking this too serious. That's what they keep saying. But it's not that I'm taking it seriously. I am aware of the risks. So I'm trying to mitigate so that I don't have any issues. And it's just trying to keep balance in the midst of it all.
Yeah. But some anxiety can come in there. I mean, sometimes you think, well, am I going too far? Am I going too far? But we have to protect each other. Let's move a little bit into the relationship, the marital relationship, the romantic relationships. Um, in
And
this time, go ahead.
before you move there,
Sure.
Billy, I want to just say stuff like in these non marital type relationships, it's a
Mm-hmm.
good time to be playing games and cards and all these other things and Scrabble and so on and so
Mhm.
whatever. Dominoes, send people to six, learn how to play properly. Those are things. I think it gives some amount of excitement at some stage.
Thank you for bringing that up. So I'm going to ask you, and Nikita, you can contribute as well. How then, because we said this in the beginning, we are home together, but still very separate. How then do we get us to come together in one place, one mind, one spirit in the home? How do we set a situation when, especially if you have adult people in the home, adult children or adults, or older teenagers, where we had our own lives, but now we're still living our own lives, but on lockdown? How can we, some practical ways for us to get together? What are some? Nikita, give us some, or Rev, you want to say something? Go ahead.
And let Nikki speak.
Okay. Well, one of the ways my family, for example, does it is around food.
Okay.
So we would make dishes that we haven't made in a long time, things that are
Mm.
more complex. And of course, I'm the chief cook. So, for
Hmm.
example, today we made doubles.
Yeah.
And
Oh
because I
boy.
am so familiar with doubles in Antigua,
Yes.
it's a process. We watch videos on YouTube, we learn how to do it. And so you have the chana, then you have to make the shadow benny sauce, then you have to make the sweet sauce with the mango, then you have to make the doubles mixture. So it was a team activity. So
At least an
everybody focused
hour.
on something. Yeah. And so for most of the day, that took up our midday session
Hmm.
in just interacting and everybody's in the kitchen talking and all of that. So something like that doesn't have to be every day, But
Yes.
activities such as that would help to, foster that intimacy with family as opposed to everyone being on their devices and so on. And also, I would say what is key in this is doing things intentionally.
Hmm.
Um, in fostering that connection and intimacy in family with the marital relationship, but as well as with the rest of the family as well. Because it seems to be against the nature of how we operate now.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we have to specifically decide, okay, at this time we're going to schedule this activity and persons would come and participate. Something to add to what he spoke about the games and so on,
Yeah.
something like exercise. And I'm seeing where, for instance, if you as one of the parents, you're going to exercise, you get the children involved and you do
Yeah.
like a circuit. All of these things are available online for us to learn. So you are at one part of the circuit, one child is at the other part, another child is there, and you're running around and exercising and having fun, even if they're not doing properly and so on. So these are just a few of the examples. But for me, what is key is being intentional about it and not just assuming, okay, because we're home, it's going to happen.
Excellent. Reverend Denise, you were adding something.
Yes, I agree with her in terms of, finding such activities, and some of that is dependent on the age of the people at home as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because making doubles sound complex from what I but something like pizza,
Yes.
um, younger children may be able to participate, even making something like cookies. And
Right.
they say to me, you don't have proper ingredients, you don't need to have, special sausages, even what we use for hot dogs, you could, use those for the sausages and so on. So you could interchange some of those ingredients, whatever you have in your cupboard, make use of it and to be with family. For me, prayer time is also very important.
Mm-hmm.
So at this age, persons may not want to, because some people may see it as holiday, they may not want to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock when I might get up. They may want to get up midday, younger persons. So you may have to find a different time when you will have some time, but it is very important for them to pray, for you to talk with how do you feel, what does God's word say, so you can help to center them about what is happening, so they can have less anxiety and so on in some of these things.
Yes.
Even playtime for me also would include little competitions,
Mm-hmm.
um, pageants that you could have with depends on how many children you have. You might have a little pageant where they come out in swimwear, do some modeling, different little things like that, where you could judge and who gets the winner, and of course find some appropriate prize that they can have. Just have that kind of a rivalry and fun in the home among them.
Yeah.
Rev mentioned playing cards or dominoes; those kinds of things could be part of it. I also think about practical ways in terms of making stuff that they can, eat. Like this past Sunday, I told my younger son, "Come, let's go. You gotta do the cooking today." And so I had my meal. I supervised, and had my meal. So depends on the age of the persons at home. You can
Yes.
involve them in a way that will cause you to work together as family, but more than that, you have fun and you can share collectively in whatever activity was done.
Excellent. Excellent. Let's take it a little further. Nikita is with us for a few minutes more. She has to run off, so she's gonna leave us in the through of the conversation. But Nikita, let's go into the marital relationships, the romantic relationships. What are some of the things that marriages are facing now? I know you yourself have written a book on, I forgot the name, right? But it's relationship and marriage. But and being in that area, what are some of the things that couples are facing now?
What couples will be facing in that you have to be at home with your lovely spouse 24/7.
Yes.
Um, there can be a sense of being overwhelmed
Mm-hmm.
because I think generally in the marriage situation, there would be expectations. And so in a time such as this, when you are both home, you would have things that might pop up, such as gender roles. Who does what? Who is responsible for what? You know, if you have children, the children are home. There is homeschooling. Typically, the mom might be expected to do homeschooling. Typically, as we mentioned before, the mom might be the one in the cooking, doing also the housework and so on and so forth. And so you can have one or either partner feeling overwhelmed. And in this situation, because it is so unique, when you're looking at what's happening with couples, you're looking at what's happening with the couple, but there's also what is taking place in each person individually. So what's happening with you in terms of, you know, the sense of panic and fear and anxiety and all of that may not necessarily be about your marital situation, but it would feed into that as well. All right. And so all of this would be taking place because we've never encountered something like this before. Excuse me. And each person, based on their grid, based on their foundation, based on their ability to cope, would have different experiences with regard to that, in addition to having to meet the expectations of your spouse in that situation where you are in the same space. And we've said before, you may be in the same space, but does not necessarily mean that you are communicating and interacting and so on a consistent basis.
Right.
And so these are some of the things that will be happening in terms of the marriage relationship, just to be brief about it. And, you know, one thing I want to emphasize is we can't be too hard on ourselves. We can't be too hard on ourselves. All right. We have to sometimes just sit back. If you've made one gain for the day, you know, I've done one thing for the day and that's sufficient.
Yeah, celebrate the small thing.
Yeah, celebrate the small things. If you've done one thing for the day, if you know you had an issue with your spouse, if you were feeling, and see, to use a common word, I really didn't like something that happened and I've been irritable and so on for the day. That's okay. That's okay. You know, we want to expect these things at this time. It would not be perfect, and it is definitely not life as normal. All right.
Yeah.
So we want to expect, yes, your spouse may be a little crabby more than normal. You know, they are experiencing things too. Then you have, depending on the type of job each may be in, the requirements, some people may still have to work from home, and so there are all these new elements to think about and to flesh out. So
Yeah.
I would say start by giving yourself an ease. Giving yourself an ease. You
Right.
each have expectations, the world has expectations, and there's so much coming at us. And you know, it is possible to work through it and to do what is necessary to build a healthier relationship, and you know, to come out of this even stronger as couples. But start by just giving yourself an ease.
All right. Thank you. I know you have to run. So I'm going to say thank you so much for being with us. We're going to continue the discussion. You can continue watch it online. But thank you so much for being with us, Nikita. And we'll be in touch
Okay,
later.
you're
Take
very
care.
welcome. Okay
But
then, thank you.
Revs, when it comes to relationships that were already on the rocks, what is this time doing to them? What is happening to us? To them. Lord of mercy, I say us.
It is a difficult moment,
Yes.
because in a lot of cases you're walking by somebody that you don't want to talk to, but you're locked in with them, and the space is tight. I would say to some persons, try to understand that this is where you're at, and you may need to have that discussion and say, listen, things are not so good with us. Let's just try not to argue too much. Because both of us are under pressure right now. Let's think a second time before we say anything, because we may say the wrong thing and it may escalate and boil up quickly. A lot of maturity is required at this particular time. A lot of maturity, because some people don't want to have that discussion, don't want to communicate in that manner. They are upset with the system, that the system locked them in with this person, and so they need to vent somewhere.
Yes.
And they're going to have to be able to have the conversation, two adult people, because that's how you're living together. If you're living together with somebody, be willing to have that conversation. Say, listen, this is not a situation that either of us chose. Let's try and make it a good situation for us by trying to just be civil to each other. And if you have to go outside and spend half a day outside to calm your nerves, let's agree to that happening so that we don't blow off the roof.
Right. And so these things can come to the fore. But I'm also thinking that this may also be a time for persons who want to give themselves some options to say, maybe this may be a time for us to look at the possibility of working out something. You know, I think we all want to agree here that we want to see our marriages thrive, especially in the body of Christ. We don't want to continue to fall into the statistics of half of our Christian marriages ending in divorce and the other 25 of the half actually having sham marriages, you know? We really want to see our marriages thrive. And so this may be a time of pause where we don't have the distractions anymore. We get to face each other, the ugly issues, and say, what can we work out and come to an amicable and actually favorable solution in this time? Reverend Denise, as a woman, we talked about this as we were planning. There's simple things that come out. Time is going on so quickly. In terms of how to maintain interest in the marriage while we're home, those of us who are doing okay, how can we maintain some spice and some interest and excitement in the marriage at this time?
Well, in a few ways, I think. First of all, I think the individual has to have some me time. That is very important.
Right.
Uh, because you want to value you in the midst of the relationship. And so you have to find something that is of interest to you, something that you like, something that you can feel good about yourself after you have done whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it comes to conversation, communication with your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that your spouse likes that you can participate in? You're locked in. Can you play a game of cards? Can you play some other kind of game?
Right.
You can determine what kind of game you will play,
Not
but
mind games, though. Not
Uh,
mind games.
no, not mind. As she was talking about games, I started thinking about, if you're talking about husband and wife, then your games are not necessarily board games. You can play other
Right.
games to
Right.
some
On the
excitement.
surfaces, we understand, yeah, and that's actually good.
it
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
it is, and you can determine in your bias well with your partner, as we were saying earlier, that because both of you are together, this is what you are going to do to contribute to the marriage. There are chores to be done at home. Both of you can determine that you will contribute towards them. So you will go in the kitchen perhaps and you will cook a meal together. Of course, if there are children around, there are other things that you may not be able to do um, publicly, but you can play, and so you will need to find those moments, if not for a longer period, but find a moment or two where you can be together in quietness and play and also pray. It's very important as couples to be able to pray together about the issues that are affecting the relationship and invite God into the center of it to give the assistance that is needed to work through whatever issue both persons are facing. So I think praying is very critical. Finding something that they can do together and praying together about the issue is important.
All right, our time is done, but we just want to take 2 extra minutes if we can, just to touch on this. We have a question coming in. Reverend Algernon, I want you to touch on this for us. They say, what about a relationship that has already gone sour and both partners are having their own relationships with other people? How do you deal with that now? There's no love there, clearly. How do you deal with that? And how does domestic violence fit into this?
Well, that's a whole program by itself when you start talking about domestic violence.
Yes.
And again, maturity is important. If both of you have already broken up, but the fact is the circumstances is only the circumstances that have kept you in the house, both persons have to understand, okay, we are on different streams. right? And you also have to respect the other person, because if you weren't bringing the person, your new relationship into the house before, don't try to do it now, because people do have feelings, and even when you have broken off from somebody and you're going to do those things, it will be terribly disorienting and it creates anger. So you have to use wisdom. I understand that wisdom is going to be less because of the pressures that persons are feeling. You have to find other ways to deal with that. There's nothing simple about it. Let me just say that. Not a good place to be. Those persons may need to talk to somebody to get that, to vent just a little bit, to deal with this.
And let me just reinforce that, Rev, for those, wherever you are in the province, or even if you're listening on Facebook and you're not a part of the Moravian Church, if you're in the situation where you're in a relationship that's not going well and the lockdown is not treating you well, whether individually or as a couple, please reach out to somebody in our province. You can talk to any one of the pastors, or if you know any one of us who are on the panels throughout the weeks, you can talk to any one of us as well.
So this
We just go
is
ahead.
on Facebook Live. So they're
Yes.
Facebook for the Calvary Moravian Church. So they send a message there to the pastor. The pastor then can link to whomever can deal with this. But we really want people to say, I'm feeling a lot of pressure over this.
Yes.
Can we just have a
Yes.
conversation? Because you'd be surprised if you really have a conversation, a talk can do something in
Yeah.
circumstance.
Yes. Listen, we have to wrap up. What are the takeaways? What do we want? Our life is that we were going through solutions as we went along. 30 seconds. What do we want people to go away with today in this relationship challenge and lockdown?
I would want to say, make the best of the time that you have together. Even if you're in house, yes, you need me time, but also find we time. Find
Yeah.
time to play games. Also use this as a time to deepen your relationship. For some persons who have gotten so busy that they've forgotten to play, start to play. Be creative. Find somebody to talk to, who can help. Because in some ways, this may be an odd time for some persons, very awkward. We may have conversations we've never had before, but
Yeah.
embrace it. And if you say, listen, Pastor, we can't do it alone, we still have Facebook. We can call somebody to have a conversation and see how to go.
Yeah.
I recognize that we haven't scratched the surface, Billy. We may need
Mm-hmm.
to think whether or not we're going to come back and get more people on to
Yeah.
have a deeper conversation, because there are lots of families that are dealing with these issues and are just not.
Yeah.
Irrationality has come in and nobody's really listening to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Rev, Denise, you want to add anything?
Simply, I would say play, do a lot of playing, do some praying as well, and find practical ways in which to live and to love, to laugh. Laughter is very important. If it is that the home is tense and you could call a friend to get a joke, call the friend and get a joke and just laugh.
Yes.
Laughter is very, very important. And you're not a Superman, Superwoman. You are in a situation. You can't change the situation. So just learn to chill in the situation and do as best as you can. That's my
Indeed.
And Denise mentioned it earlier, but I would just want to say, she just mentioned about pray. Maybe in these family situations, just say, okay, let's have a 5 minutes every midday. We can pray 5 minutes or
Yeah.
something of that nature, so that you have that prayer time together. God is very much interested in our families and our linking up,
Yeah.
and as we give God space, God does wonderful things.
I like that concept. As we give God space, He does wonderful things. Listen, we have to end it here. We're already some minutes over. Thank you for bearing with us. We are gonna come back, Reverend. Algonquin, as you said, we're gonna have to put another topic, a part to this, because we have to go back and touch more on the domestic violence, on the affair issue, and we are church people, but we're real people. And we know lots of people in our churches are struggling with marriages that have cracks and holes and edges that are scratched. So we're gonna come back to talk about these issues. Maybe not this Thursday because our schedule is set for Thursday, but we'll let you know definitely. And I want to just encourage all of us who are out there, whether we're in marital relationships or living with our families. In addition to what you heard, let's try to positively encourage each other every day. Say I love you. Say you look nice. If you have to fix up your hair so you can get your hair look nice, hairstyle, fix up your hair.
Like it.
Whatever you have to do, because we have to. Oh, her hair's fine, so you can give her a compliment. But listen, we have to find ways to stay afloat, and we want to come out of this, not just surviving, but thriving. This time of pressure must make us come out as pearls, as we know the process of pearls being formed happens. So, guys, thank you so much. Thank you, those of you who have been watching on Facebook and YouTube. And join us on Thursday when we're going to look at another aspect of the family, but from the young people. We're excited to have our young people on. We're going to be hearing from them how COVID is affecting them, their schools, their dreams, their hopes, and everything. Stay blessed and stay connected. God bless you.
Bye. Bye.